FIFA 21 is the fourth entry in EA's long-running franchise to appear on the Nintendo Switch. It's a series that's had a somewhat fractured relationship with Nintendo consoles since in and around the Wii era, certainly the Wii U era, but it's had 4 consecutive entries on a system and Gareth Bale's back at Spurs. Surely all will be good with this year's entry. What does that say on the box? Legacy Edition? Is it messy or messy? I'm Glen Bolger, thank you to the publishing team for the review code, and now, let's find out.
Fireworks. Let's hope so.
Let's get the obvious out of the way straight away and address the legacy tag on the box. This is the 4th entry of FIFA on the Nintendo Switch, and whilst FIFA 18 and 19 were watered down versions to an extent, missing some game modes or features found in the other console versions, they were still new releases that added most of the new features or modes that year's iteration had brought about. They weren't perfect, but they were each new additions. Last year's version, FIFA 20, and now this new 21 edition, have been legacy editions, which basically means they do not include or benefit from any of the new modes or gameplay features found in their yearly counterparts elsewhere, and instead just feature the new kits for teams and correct squads for this season. In a nutshell, the actual gameplay for FIFA on the Switch hasn't been updated since FIFA 19. Now, I've only bought one of the Switch versions of FIFA, and that was FIFA 18, so a few of the features in this game were new to me, but had I bought 19 or 20, then things would have felt much more familiar. With all that taken into account, what does it include? Well, you have your basic kickoff mode, which sees you playing against either the computer or against a friend in a friendly match, although you can spice things up a tad by adding crazy rules such as only shots from outside the area counting, or setting up King of the Hill or survival style modes. You have tournament mode, which allows you to select from a host of real life tournaments from a variety of countries and play the way through the league or cup tournament, plus there is the option to select a women's international cup, giving you access to the top 16 ranked international teams in a knockout tournament. There is career mode, which has you picking a team and attempting to win it all, and you can play the matches or simulate them, and you will be buying and selling players, seeing wonder kids of today potentially developing into the world stars of tomorrow. This year's mode on other consoles has had a bit of a revamp, borrowing some elements from Management Simulator Football Manager, but again, this Switch version, being a legacy edition, doesn't have any of these new features. The Champions League mode makes a return, which sees you able to take on the role of a team participating in the tournament with the official branding, including that now iconic music. And finally, you have the Ultimate Team mode, which sees you creating a team by way of player cards that act as your squad. You earn coins from competing in either single player or online leagues, and you can then spend these coins on new card packs, or even auction to buy cards from people who are willing to sell theirs, or you can obviously auction off your own unwanted cards to earn extra coins. As always, microtransactions are an option, with you able to buy FIFA points for real money and then purchase the player packs this way instead. There are squad building and team of the week challenges to help you earn extra coins, but the grind is definitely on if you want to buy the best players. One of the major reasons for this is because the daily challenges found in other versions, which are a great way of building up coins quickly, are absent from the Switch version. Again, this exclusion is completely unnecessary. Now, I did manage to build a very competitive squad in 18's Ultimate Team without spending an extra penny, so it's definitely doable, but the lack of the daily challenges will no doubt push some people down the microtransaction route. At present, it doesn't seem to include any of the club transfers done from the recent deadline day across a lot of the European leagues, so Carlos Vinicius is still at Benfica, Partey is at Atletico, Chiesa at Fiorentina, and Douglas Costa is at Juve, or whatever they're called in the game. There has been an update already, and I'm surprised it didn't include changing these, but you can edit the squad yourself, and hopefully there'll be an update soon that will rectify this anyway. As mentioned briefly just now, the game is playable online of course, but you also have the option to play locally on the same Switch with just a single Joy-Con if you wish, or via local LAN play, and when playing online it will show you which of the people in your friends list are playing FIFA currently, so you can link up with them easily. A big draw for some people with the Switch version will be handheld play. As a married man myself with 2 kids, I can't sit in front of the telly playing FIFA for hours like I could 15 years ago, and for this reason I'm delighted to say that the handheld mode looks and plays incredibly well. If your personal circumstances do not limit your time in front of a television, then this obviously won't be such a big deal, but if they do, then this in itself is a big factor in whether to pick this game up on the Switch. Gameplay is classic FIFA, and if you've enjoyed the previous couple of editions, you'll enjoy it again, but you'll enjoy it again because you are playing the same game. I could understand some features being cut from 18, the Switch doesn't use the Frostbite engine, so things like journey mode had to go, but to not even include nuances made to how you can attack or defend, or the tweaks and upgrades to modes such as career is very disappointing. Handheld mode is a major saving point in this argument, as is the use of a single Joy-Con, as controllers are expensive on the PlayStation for example, but even with these in mind, gameplay gets 15 out of 20. Controls work just as well as always and allow a range of passing moves, but again the lack of any new control moves and nuances is quite frankly ridiculous, and they score 15 out of 20. Visually, FIFA 21 does look the part. Yes, it can't compete with other versions, but this was the area that I would have accepted that to be the case in, as I do feel that even with this in mind, everything still looks more than good enough to fully immerse you in the experience. The stars of the game are recognisable, with the only negative for me being their eyes. They still look quite lifeless when compared to the very realistic faces that they find themselves in. They don't ever give a firm stare, meaning the expression of the footballers always looks a little vacant for want of a better term. There are full recreations of a number of real life grounds, as well as 28 fictional ones that are assigned to teams whose real stadiums are not included. I don't know which grounds are in the PS4 or Xbox One versions, but there are definitely some odd omissions in this Switch version. For example, as far as I can see, 19 of the 20 teams in this season's Premier League have their ground, with the only team that doesn't seemingly being Leeds United. Championship teams such as Cardiff and Watford do have theirs. This could again be down to the legacy nature of this version, as Leeds wouldn't have been a Premier League team at any point during the last few years, whereas Cardiff and Watford have been Premier League teams. This doesn't account though for why stadiums such as Camp Nou are absent, unless this is down to a licensing issue, I don't know. Audio wise, there are the usual licensed songs during menus, and a commentary team made up of Derek Ray and Lee Dixon. Whilst it's great that FIFA always gets real commentators for their games, with Ray currently working for ESPN I believe, with respect to him, he isn't a patch on Martin Tyler who had been doing the commentary previously. He just doesn't have that gravitas, and some of his delivery is very awkward. This might be more to do with his acting skills than his actual ability to commentate, as I've never heard him in a real match situation, but it just doesn't sound quite right. Visuals are as good as could be expected, but it does seem the curse of the Legacy Edition has struck again in terms of which stadiums are included, and they score 17 out of 20. Audio doesn't quite match the highs of previous entries in my opinion at least, although it's still incredibly professional in terms of its delivery and presentation, and scores 15 out of 20. FIFA 21 Legacy Edition costs £44.99, $49 or €49.99 or $69 Australian dollars 95. It takes an initial 13.3 GB of storage space, but an update has already taken a further 300 MB, and there will be other updates to come as transfer windows come and go. On the surface, £45 for career mode, ultimate team and Champions League mode, decent character models and presentation, plus the ability to play in handheld mode sounds pretty fair. I put over 180 hours into 18, so definitely got my money's worth. But the reality is these modes have all been in the last 2 versions. Most have been in the last 3 versions to be honest, and not one single tweak, refinement or upgrade has been made to the game at all. The changes are purely the personnel and the kit updates, and it's very easy to say just buy last year's version, it's the same game, but when you love your team, there's something special about seeing your new kit in game form, controlling the new players that you are so excited to watch in real life, and I know the draw this has. I probably would have bought this just on the strength of Gareth Bale's return to Spurs, but let's be honest, £45 for a Legacy Edition is absolutely abhorrent pricing. If you are watching this review next May when it's £10 or £15 on sale, then whack another 10 points onto this part, but at the minute it's quite literally a case of money for old rope as the saying goes, and value scores 5 out of 20. To conclude, FIFA 21 Legacy Edition can be viewed in one of 2 ways. If you don't own a version of FIFA on the Switch, or only bought the first one like me, it has enough content that you'll feel happy with your purchase if you are a football fan. If you bought last year's version, you are buying the same game with updated rosters. So it really depends on your mindset when you factor all of this in. The frustrating thing is the lack of new features, bar something like a journey mode, is nothing to do with what the Switch can do. It's about how much money EA are willing to invest in a version that would have had to have been built from the ground up for a system and a fan base where they don't feel they'll see a return on their money. Now that is fair enough, they are a business, let's be fair, so release a Legacy Edition if you must, but price it accordingly, and £45 is so far north of accordingly, it's untrue.
Now Griezmann. Well, no luck keeping possession.
FIFA 21 Legacy Edition gets a SwitchUp score of 67%. So there you have it. Now, as you know, if you watch this channel, we don't go mad at a game if it has a practice we don't like and automatically give it 3, 4, 5 out of 10. We do try to be as fair and objective as possible. but even with that mindset, it's hard to defend that pricing, bearing in mind it's a legacy edition and the features that aren't here. Will you still be picking this one up? I'm sure you'll still enjoy it. If you do, please do let us know in the comment section below. Which team do you support? Who will you be playing as? A quick thank you to our patrons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, stay safe, and until next time, happy gaming.
Messi! And a goal here! There it is! They've done it!
Well, here it is again. It looks a simple goal. He gets in a position not that far out from goal, but he has to hit the target. He does that, and it's in the back of the net.
So 2-0 now. Sergio Busquets. Takes the shot. Oh, he really bruised the crossbar. And he's knocked it out of play, so a throw-in is the decision. Griezmann. Lionel Messi in the middle.